Hello guys, in this video I'm gonna show you a couple things about Spruce sensors. So this is the Spruce Generation 2 sensor. I had it for 2 years. You can see it's pretty dirty, but it still works. Survived for 2 years in my garden. And then I have Generation 3 Spruce sensors, which slightly different shape, design. It looks very similar. So if you compare them, they're very look alike. They do have a little design change, but majority and the main part is the battery, new battery, and the connection type. So the second generation had the screw type connections of the top cover, and to access the battery you have to unscrew all these 4 screws and then remove the cover. On the third generation, it's a twist open cover, so you twist and then you open. I'll show you in a second. So just to compare these two, both of them pretty cool sensors. This works for the battery lasts for about roughly a year if you properly use it, and I'll show you why. And then in this Spruce sensor, battery lasts a pretty long time. So far I hadn't changed the battery, and it's been, I believe, over a year. But the battery will die if the moisture get into this sensor. The battery will die very quickly, within a day or two. Sometimes it takes a week, depends how much water moisture got inside. So the moisture or water inside the sensor very critical. So if you have water coming inside, seeping in through the gasket or anywhere, it will could damage your sensor, or could just show the wrong reading if it's a little bit of moisture, or could kill your battery very quickly. And it's I was kind of surprised at first that a couple sensors died and that, and I figure a couple things you can do with this to improve it and actually make these sensors work for a long time. So I'll show you here. So take a look at Gen 2 sensors. So first of all, I had this sensor in the first year. I had 6 of them, and so far I have 3 only left out of 6 or 5 sensors. The other one got replaced by Spruce. They had a really great service. However, it's unfortunately the damage was from water, because the water just gets right into the sensor. So look what I did. I did apply a plumbing paste T2. I'm gonna post the link to it, the type of paste I used. And really I didn't even use the screws, because it's a hassle. You put in the screws down, it breaks your holder, so there's a bunch of issues with the screws. However, the sensor looks pretty good, and the battery lasts a very long time if you're not gonna allow any moisture inside. So as long as you keep it dry, and in the critical conditions where you use your sensors in the garden, where you always have sprinklers, you have rain, you have all kind of stuff, and you have it's sitting down in the soil, so it's almost touching the soil most of the time, and water just sucks around this area all around the gasket. So what I do with the sensor, basically I put lots of that plumbing paste that you use for thread. It's a great product to use, I think. I tried caulking, I tried different type of silicones. The problem with silicone is it gets cracked once it's dry, and it's hard to remove it. If you need to replace battery later, you have to kind of pry to open. With this paste, it's always, look at this, it's been sitting for a while and it's not gonna dry, so it's always in a condition where it seals and it's easy to remove. So that's the main point of that paste that I use. You can try some other maybe product, some silicone shower, plumber silicone and stuff like that, that's not gonna dry. It's just like a paste. So that's the main goal, to keep your moisture out. If you keep the moisture out of this sensor, it's pretty much unbreakable. It works perfectly, reports the moisture, soil moisture, and you can use in your garden. It's actually survived the winter. I was surprised. It's no problem. I mean, in California we don't have freezing conditions. I mean, the temperature goes maybe to 32 degrees, so it's not really freezing anything, although the Spruce recommends to remove the sensor for winter, and I can see why, because if you have freezing condition and any moisture may crack your plastic or maybe damage some parts inside. Okay, so we want to keep this sensor dry first of all and out of the freezing zone. So if you are in the freezing temperatures, you want to remove those for winter. And plus, it's not going to do any good. If you have freezing, you're not going to grow anything in that type of temperatures. But here we can grow like pretty much everything green, and all my herbs and everything. It's herbal garden and all year long pretty much. It gets to 32 degrees, 30 degrees maximum, only at night for a few hours, so that's not that bad. Anyways, let's take a look at the sensor third generation. So look what we did. Same problem. Even though the locking and removing the of the top is really easy, all you gotta do is screw and unscrew it, I would still have the water coming in. So what they did a really great job. This is one of the first couple sensor I bought, so it's kind of a little bit, it's sealed all the way on top of all this motherboard and all the parts inside, electronics. If you compare to this sensor, you have sealed area and unsealed area. You could probably see that. I'm gonna put a little closer. So if you look at this, you have sealed all this section inside, but then you have this sensor exposed, this little part exposed to the moisture. So as soon as you get the moisture inside, your battery dying almost immediately, and it may damage some areas here on the electronics. You could see this corrosion start to appear, so you gotta just be careful. So before I figured out with how to seal it, I had the issue with several sensors, and it just depending how you water in the garden. If it's very dry on the top, it may last a little longer, but eventually you get sprinklers going or some you use in hose. There is no way you can keep the sensor dry enough unless you seal it. So that's the great stuff that I found. Anyways, let's take a look on the inside of the Gen3 sensor, and look how well it's sealed. Everything looks to be covered completely here, and the battery only contacts exposed on the other side. But however, I'm gonna shake it off. So the water, see how wet it's outside, and I don't have a lot of sprinklers going on, but it's still sucking the water all the way around this ring. So when I put this plumbing paste all the way in that ring, I just compact very a lot of it. And then I guess if you change the battery, you want to just put a little extra, make sure you dry it. Okay, so I'll show you one more sensor that they came out same Gen3, but like probably a few months later I ordered. They start sealing this on top with a great amount of silicone, high quality silicone, which actually improved even better. But still the moisture gets in, it starts killing the battery, and it shows the moisture incorrectly. So it will show you either plant is dry, super dry even after watering, so you will not get the reading correctly, or it will say it's like it's moist after even if it's dry. So all this water inside would create wrong reading. Besides, it's gonna damage the sensor. So your goal is just to keep it dry inside. So let's take a look one more sensor. Let me bring it up. Here you go. I brought one more Gen3 sensor, and look how wet it is. So after sprinklers running, all the top surface, everything just wet and moistured. And of course, what do you expect? It's a moisture sensor. It's in the soil, direct contact with water every single day. Now what I figured the problem really is not only because it's the next to that moisture, but because it's get hot during the day. So when in the evening your sprinklers turn on, it's cooling down the sensor. What happening is it's sucking, so that the air gonna compress and it's gonna suck the moisture. No matter what you do, it's gonna suck the moisture inside, because it's all contracting, the air contracting and creating negative pressure. So once you create negative pressure, look how much water is all the way around. It's just standing there, it's not gonna disappear anywhere. And unfortunately, after hot day, especially if you use evening sprinklers, it will suck the water in almost immediately. So look at this. We had the sensor perfectly dry inside, and that's amazing. So all you do is just apply this paste all the way around. But take a look, guys, how they did this. Couple months later, they sealed this area where all these parts here with silicone on top. That crazy how much better the sensors start to work, because even if the moisture gets in, with having everything sealed, all components, all electronics completely sealed up, it would not affect much of the sensor, so it doesn't get damaged. Because I got probably 2 of them damaged before I figured out how to protect it really well. I got 2 sensors to replace, and I sent it back to Spruce, and they actually sent me a replacement, which is great. They have a good warranty on that. But regardless, the moisture just getting in, even though they have this rubber gasket, everything seems super tight and a really nice design. The moisture, guys, is a crazy thing. So it will get in eventually, even though you have this gasket and the rubber stuff, it's not gonna hold it. I think the reason why is just because of the temperature height change, especially if you hot climate or the sensor is gonna be exposed to the sun, it's gonna get hot, so it will get warmed up. The air gonna push out through this gasket. No matter what you do, there is such huge amount of air. I mean, even the small air like this, once it gets hot, it's gonna push it out, it's gonna expand. No matter what you do, you're creating so much pressure, positive pressure, that the air gonna all suck out, and as soon as the sprinklers turn on, it will cool down the air inside, and it's negative pressure gonna suck this water in. So that's what I figure every time in the evening you spray, you can open your sensor, you're gonna see the moisture. So I think what happening with this plumbing paste is it's flexible. It's not gonna allow the water, so it seals. Look how well it's sealed. It seals everything around, and the air can expand and contract, so it can push it out a little bit of that paste out and then suck back in. So even if the water gets in, it may take a while, may take months, maybe 10 months, 5 months, and it's a lot better. So if you get moisture in the first week, your sensors stop showing proper reading. That's what's important for the sensors, because you get wrong reading, that's just the whole point. You're gonna miss the point of the sensor. So look at this. So you seal that, you keep the sensor dry, and your battery lasts a lot longer, improves the battery life. Even if you have a little condensation inside, it kills the battery. Unfortunately, it just creates discharge the battery somehow. I notice if it's completely dry, you improve your battery life by a huge amount of time. It could be 10 times longer the battery gonna last. So anyways, moisture is the key. You want to keep the sensors dry to get the reading. I'm gonna post the video how I'm using it with the smart sinks. I set up some notifications, some text messaging, so when my plants are drying, if something going wrong and it's really dry days or hot days and I need an extra watering, I just receive text message, hey, it's a dry there, and I go and I just add some water. So it's a really great way to keep your everything green and moist and all your garden. And actually I'm using quite a bit of these sensors for the home plants. Really cool. In home, usually you don't have the sprinkler system inside your house, so you have to water your plants and some sensitive plants inside, and if you forget, busy life, you can kill your plants inside very quickly. So anyways, that helps me to maintain the moisture and actually keep these sensors alive all the time, because if the sensor go bad, shows the wrong moisture, it will show fault always like 40% or 30%, and it's not gonna get you any good. If your soil is dry, it's gonna still show you a wrong reading if the moisture inside the sensor. So make sure you keep the sensors dry inside wherever you do, whatever sealant you come up with. I'll post you this this paste, and I actually tried one more paste on the other sensor. I'm gonna try one more route, maybe a few months, and this been already for I believe 2 months, and this sensor perfectly dry. The sensor perfectly dry, and I'm really happy with this, because before I could get the water, I would check the sensors. It's really easy to open, but then like, hey, some of them were dry, so it makes probably rubber gasket pretty good contact, but some of them not. So it's really you depending on how well the gasket connects to this sensor. By the way, look how much dirt you're getting from all this soil, and a little bit of dirt may create some, you have to kind of keep it technically perfectly clean to keep the gasket connection perfect. And unfortunately in the garden condition, even if you clean really well, the dirt gets around very fast and it can suck it in it. I mean, it's almost impossible. So you want to seal this, keep it dry, get your moisture sensor work perfectly in a dry condition inside. Okay, so that's the goal. I hope you like that video, maybe help you to get the sensor work for a long time. And I'm gonna post some new videos about how I get the reading of the sensors with the smart sinks. I use some of this sensor with on the other rental property for with the Spruce irrigation controller, but I actually like more like get the reading versus controlling the irrigation with the sensors, but you can do both. Anyways, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.